Hey, this is jmartin with the 1v1 battle. We're on grassy flats, obviously. This wasn't a terribly good match, but I wanted to get another video up sort of as a say sorry for the last one I did. I was fairly inebriated when I put that together, and so I was playing pretty poorly. And secondly, I think that I have found a few little tricks to improve my play, and I wanted to share those with y'all. I'm playing as Prussia, which you can see, and let me see if I can get to the point where my army gets in position. I have 4 lights. Oh, this is on medium. 4 fusiliers in front. I have 2 foot guards I put over here, and then I have 4 musketeers. They're there. I have the 2 unique cav units for Prussia. I also have a militia and the regular general. And one thing that I learned from my horrible loss the other day was that spreading out your army is good, because it essentially gives you more opportunities to maneuver. I mean, if you have to, you can collapse back down to the middle. But if you spread out like this, then that gives you the opportunity to wrap around someone's flank, etc. The second real lesson that I learned is that you don't always have to do the noob thing where you just put your lights directly in front of your line. They can occupy their own space in the line. And especially if the opponent doesn't have any cav left, why don't you do that? And that's something that I just wasn't doing. This is my opponent. He's playing as France. The rules here, I think, were just no rockets. So I was a little nervous he would spam a bunch of howitzers, but he didn't. He does have a 4-pounder over there on my right, and he's got another 4-pounder over here. For cav, he just has 1 unit of dragoons. I think he has 3 chasseurs. And he has a variety of foot units. Looks like 2 old guard and 4 fusiliers. A lesson maybe new players might be interested in it is, I think if the guy I was playing against kind of had one problem, it was that he kept his units apart. They weren't able to support themselves. For instance, he moves his lights here way up the map, way far away from his line, and this lets me eventually take them out really easily. Also, he's got this artillery unit just way out on its own that has no cover, nobody to back it up. And I actually recognize this pretty early. You can see I'm starting to move my cav that direction. I think I'm going to break into a full-on run here in a minute. And he is moving his line. He's moving it away from this artillery unit. Part of the reason that I don't like using artillery is that it sort of forces you into a static defense. You kind of have to defend your artillery pieces because they're expensive and a big investment. And that really limits your mobility options. Yeah, see, we're on a full run here. And I don't know why I sent both units. I had these guys hotkeyed together. I should have sent 1 unit to the left side and 1 unit to the right side, but I didn't. So what I do is I'm moving my guys up. This is my kind of plan. I want to swing my foot guards on the left side. I want these musketeers to be able to develop on that side. And you noticed I got these kinks on my line here that eventually I plan on folding my lights into when we get on full engagement. I did make one huge blunder, and that's I just totally forgot to move my militia. So these dudes don't really participate in the battle at all. Here comes my big cap charge on the unit. I did have a problem. He sent this Fusilier and Dragoon unit to back it up. Luckily, I knocked out, you can see I knock out the guns here and route the unit and just get the heck out of Dodge. And the timing of that worked out way in my favor because I got out of there before that line unit could open fire. And I got away with only 1 casualty, which is a pretty good trade. I'm going to fast forward here for a little bit while I march up to his lines, because nothing interesting happens after that cav engagement. I do start swinging this horse unit here, which is right there. I swing this unit around to the left because I realize that he's abandoning a defensive position with this artillery. So this artillery is going to be out on its own. I need a cav unit to go take it down. Some players I see bring 0 cav, and I bring less cav than most people, but having some cav is important to exploit the mistakes of your opponent, etc. Right about now, I'm about to engage his lights, and what I'm going to do, or my plan, is to get these 2 light units firing on it straight on, and to whip my 2 foot guard units around and get some flanking fire on it. I don't really want to engage these chasseurs yet. I want to take care of that unit, and then that'll give me the option, do I want to fold all my lights kind of on a line on this vector to handle them, or what do I want to do? I think about this point I realized that my militia I left behind. Yeah, so I finally bring the militia up. I've got them running. Probably not a good idea. And I think I actually moved these 2 musketeer units in to engage these lights here. He does have this dragoon unit and this this line unit that's sort of an option. Okay, so I started the engagement with this first chasseur unit. And they should fold pretty quickly. They're going to be taking a lot of pretty accurate fire here. I move these 2 lights to sort of fake him out a little bit. He does start to reposition because my cav finally gets around to a point where I can hit this artillery. He moves an old guard unit there, so I back off. I'm not really worried that artillery unit is going to change the world. He eventually retreats his chasseurs. It's okay, they're down to 30 men anyway, and I just continue the advance. I am pretty comfortable. I don't know where those guys took casualties from. I wonder if they got hit from their own artillery. I haven't shot at them yet. They've already lost 10 men. Anyway, I was okay with the idea of having these 2 foot guards take on that one old guard. And you can see over here I've decided to start the engagement with those chasseurs. And I'm moving my other line units up there. And we're going to try to get some flanking fire on this old guard. And that's good for me, because if I can get him to retreat, which he does right there, then that's just going to make it much easier. Yeah, and I think I send my cav now. It lets me get at this artillery unit. And I'm okay with just walking my foot guard around to his flank. And maybe another thing for newer players is if you don't move, this is the big mistake that I made in my last match that I lost. If you don't move, your opponent's going to kill you. He's going to surround you and everything. At this point, he does try to make a good maneuver. I don't know if his dragoons... Yeah, he actually gets shots off at me. That was good. I wasn't paying attention. I was more engaged on the left side of the line with that old guard. But he's obviously chasing my horse, and so I form a square here and try to run... Or maybe it's here. And I try to run my horse into the safety of the square, I believe. And it looks like actually he changes targets right into my square, and so I think I actually changed targets into his horse unit. And I believe I pull this musketeer unit to give some superman fire. At this point I've cleared out the lights in the middle of his line. Oh, no, that's right. So while he was engaged in my square, he had 2 units of lights that were just kind of hanging out here and protected, so I charged my horse into him. That's what I did. But at this point the battle is kind of boring. The fight is won. I'm starting to do an encirclement. I've taken out that artillery unit, the cav unit that took out the artillery. I continue to choose general. He doesn't move it. I don't have terribly good micro, but I was obviously able to take advantage of this guy not paying attention. This dragoon is taking forever to break against my square. Eventually they do. And my other cav unit is just running around through his lights, which I'll start to rout. And once I kill his general, he routs pretty darn quick. And at this point, we're just wrapping up his... here's my militia, trying to get in the game. At this point, we're just trying to wrap up his line, which will be pretty easy because his general's dead. I just keep the cav moving and charging those Fusiliers. And so that was the battle. Pretty basic. I think the lessons that I learned here and that I sort of tried to illustrate and that my opponent helped me illustrate is you want to keep your formation wide and mobile to give you a lot of options. Maneuver is really important. Maneuver is really important. If you sit around, your opponent will maneuver. And in this case, I did all of the acting and my opponent did all of the reacting. And then, of course, the last thing for newer players, you just always want to make sure your units are supporting each other. Don't leave your lights out by themselves. They'll get run down by cav, etc. And so I think we're about to take out these dudes. And after that, I think the battle will be over. Yeah, they're still in square. So just a couple hits from the foot guard should take care of it. Oh, they're going for melee charge. That's right. This is cool. And I actually send the I send the foot guards to get the counter charge, but they route before they even get there, so I guess it didn't matter. And that is the battle. I want to say thanks for watching, everyone. I want to say good game to my opponent, tylerrr, who was, I think, a newer player, and so I'm sure he'll be real good when he gets around to it. And medium, the kills aren't really that exciting. But thanks for watching, and check us out at twreplays.com.